Good morning.
Very interesting. Are you? Did you start this?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm not the only one who does it, but yeah, I started it.
Wow, that's great. How long have you been doing it?
3 years and a handful of months.
Wow.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do it?
Well, it's just been something that was on my mind for a long time, and no one was really.
Father's Day. It's pretty inappropriate to be here.
It's actually a good message for every day of the year, no matter what holiday you want to put on it.
I agree.
Not on Father's Day. It's not appropriate.
Well, who are you to decide the rules of what I do with my life?
Move away because I'm drunk every day.
But yeah, so I just thought it got to the root, because there's all kinds of issues that people care about, right? But you can't be a victim for any of those issues if you aren't born in the first place, and you can't be a creator or a perpetrator of any of those issues if you're not born in the first place. And there's so many problems in the world that we're not really seeing resolve. Some are getting worse, some are being created. And I think that procreation gets to the root of everything. And I believe that we should be prioritizing life that's already here right now and in need over the unborn. So no one's asking to come into existence. No one can request or get permission to come into existence. There's no consent. But there's so many children who are alive right now who would love far better lives than what they.
And then I think you have a lot of good points. And I think it's very interesting that it's centered on a male gender instead of a female issue.
Oh no, it's both. I have honestly like 100 different signs. I have one in my vehicle right now that says women can be whole without women are whole without becoming a mom.
It's really interesting.
Thank you.
A lot of women feel a lot of pressure to be a parent. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and exactly. And then there's a lot of pressure on women to carry the weight of birth control.
That's 100%.
So I think it's a good message to promote vasectomies for people who don't want kids and people who don't want any more kids.
Much less invasive than what women, having your tubes tied, or
much less invasive on your wallet too. They're and a lot of people's health insurance will completely cover their vasectomy. I met a local guy yesterday. We were talking about vasectomies. Yeah, so and mine
hormones that women have to deal with.
Exactly.
All side effects.
So there's not like a whole huge list of side effects with the vasectomy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My husband had a vasectomy 28 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I got mine 10 years ago.
Nice. And it was easy, he just went in and
I get more anxiety going to the dentist than I did getting my vasectomy. So.
Yeah, it was a sack of peas and that was it.
This is so cool.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Can I take a sticker?
Oh yeah, you can take whatever you want.
I love this so much.
And that actually has a QR code on it that goes to the child-free friendly doctors website, which means that it's a list of doctors around the country that if you want sterilization, they're not going to try to, bullshit you out of it. They're not going to be like, oh, well, maybe you haven't met the right person yet, or you haven't had enough kids, or you're going to change your mind one day, or all that kind of stuff. So those are people you can be comfortable with going there.
I have 2 kids, adult kids now and a grandson, and I got my tubes tied.
Okay.
And I remember sitting down with the doctor and her saying to me, because single mom, whatever, her saying to me, well, what if you meet the right guy? And I go, no, I don't want any more kids.
And it's not her business anyway.
Right.
It's her job to perform that, and you came in to request that.
To do what I want.
Yeah, it's just like when people, I know it's different than a tattoo, but when tattoo's permanent as well, when you go to get a tattoo, they usually don't say, are you sure you want this on your body for the rest of your life?
Exactly.
It's like you've already thought about it. It's not like people impulsively go and do what you did. It's not like
you don't wake up one morning and like, hey, I'm gonna go get my tubes.
Yeah, or they're not like,
or hey, I'm gonna go get my tubes.
Or you don't just drive by like one of these offices or clinics and you're just like, oh, I'm gonna stop by.
Right.
It's like something that people put a lot of thought into.
Exactly. And more people should stop and think a little bit.
Exactly.
My thing always is just because you have the parts, you shouldn't have a baby. That doesn't mean you should have a baby.
And just because you have the weapons, you know?
Exactly.
And the very least something like this can do is at least spark some critical thought into people about procreation.
Right, so when people walk by and they read it, they're going to be like, good for you.
Yeah, because thank you. Because not everyone's going to be like you and come up and talk to me. So some of them are just going to talk amongst themselves.
I did a double take, right? I did, and I was like, wait, what? oh, the human race is never going to be extinct, right?
Right.
So, but
Well, hopefully one day, but not for a long time.
Right, but why are we promoting having kids in a fucking shitty world?
And the issue, like, what's a huge issue to me is the overabundance of like that student in need. Like just take the U.S. foster care system for example. It's almost 500,000 children,
Exactly.
but it's not something people ever talk about. Like you can listen to all the most popular podcasts, YouTube shows, media, any kind of media. No one talks about it.
But the stuff that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, people talk about how there's not enough humans, which I don't know how you can say that.
We got too fucking many.
Yeah, we're
We let
overtaking the
everybody-
planet.
Right.
Like
We're like, come on, please.
yeah, we're extinctioning so many other species. You know, so we need to learn to be able to share this planet with who else has the right to be here as well.
Exactly.
So
that we've taken from.
Exactly.
Because we like to have sex and then you get pregnant.
Yeah.
Have unwanted kids, you know.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that that's how we're born, right? Is for people having sex.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be a more like intensive.
And then it's funny because adults want to hide like what sex is from children. It's like, well, that's what you cause your children to come into existence.
Exactly. And then you want to like make it shameful, so then they grow up all fucked up in the head.
All right, I'd like
Yeah,
to hear
sure.
your pitch. I'd like to hear your argument. I'm interested.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we bring new life into the world, they are gonna, be harmed, and they are gonna be harmed themselves. They're gonna suffer. We all cause harm and suffering as well. No one can be harmed by not coming into the world, right? And no one can request to come into the world. We can't give permission or consent to come into the world. And I think we should help who we already have here right now who's in need. For example, there's about 500,000 children in the U.S. foster care system alone. There's millions and millions of non-human animals in need of help, elderly people, homeless people, drug addicts. The list just goes on and on and on, right? So I think we should prioritize our energy, resources, and care for those who already exist, because they have real interests, needs, feelings, and desires, where the unborn lacks any of that. So, and most people will readily admit that it's a cruel world that we live in. So if you can admit that it's a cruel world, I think it's cruel to, force someone into the world. And that's, we are forced into the world. We're not forced to continue living per se, but we are forced into the world, so that's basically it. It's a compassionate message. It's not like, screw you if you're a parent or anything like that. And let's put more thought into procreation, because a lot of people see it as a default to life, something you just do, or an obligation. Sometimes they think it's like a gender role. Some women think that their primary purpose on here is to become mothers, and some men think that that's what they should do too. But no, we have the biological equipment to, procreate, but that doesn't mean we have to do it, nor doesn't mean we should do it. So that's my little spiel for you. Any comments, questions, complaints, concerns?
I think the adoption's an interesting angle. There's a lot of kids out there that don't have parents or in the adoption system.
Yeah, and it's not their own fault. It's not like they did something to get to that point. So
let me ask you a question. So there's a lot of parents that can't have kids on their own, and they might not be able to have kids because it might be biological, or they might be gay. It might be two women. Women can have, insemination, but two men might be gay, and they can't have babies. Do you encourage or support the idea that gay couples can adopt a kid?
Oh yeah, I mean, as long as they're, mentally well and financially well, and they live in a safe community, and they meet all the other standards that someone should have.
But I don't think parent that would be available for adoption.
The more children, the more adults that children have that can you know, give them love, care, attention, that can teach them things, etc., the better. And it doesn't matter if they're men or women or gay or straight or bi or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, they like if they're crazy, and I'm not saying like if you're gay, it's more likely that you're crazy or anything. Then yeah, I don't think that they should. Not everyone should be a parent, is what I'm trying to say. Even myself, I would even say myself that I should be a parent.
I'd probably agree with you on that.
So people need, because parenting is probably one of the hardest jobs in the whole world. It's almost like a specialty to become a good parent. You know, like if someone's actually a good parent, they should be extremely proud of themselves. So yeah, I think a lot of people.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people should.
It's also easy to screw up too.
Oh yeah.
It's very easy to screw up.
I think every parent's going to screw up at least, you know, here and there.
You know?
You can't be perfect. Just like we're not perfect to ourselves, we screw up our own lives too.
No, you're right.
And so yeah, I think very few people actually have the capacity to be really good parents. So people really need to think about that. But you know, we all have the capacity to help. You know, for example, I could, if I wanted to, like I could just donate to I mean, I did yesterday, but I could just donate to an organization today, and I've helped without even doing anything. I just put in a dollar amount and click the submit button, and I've, in a little bit of a way, helped. You know, so there's so many ways to help exist in life. It doesn't have to be parenting or volunteering, mentoring, teaching, etc. People can have relationships with children without being parents too. Nieces, nephews, being a teacher. I met like tons and tons of teachers doing this who are child free, and they're like, they interact
like the community.
Yeah.
Like the community art. The community approach.
Exactly. Yeah. So they interact with children all day in schools. They're a good influence to the children. I mean, I don't know. I don't get to see and observe, but just hoping that they are.
Do you have kids?
No. And I never actually wanted kids. Even from the time I was a child, I started thinking about this.
Yeah.
And my reasons for not having kids right now are, you know, I have way more reasons now for not wanting to have kids than I did back when I was a kid.
It's a personal thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to tell me.
And I don't remember my origin story per se of not wanting kids, but I think it may have been when I saw a baby's diapers being changed, and I knew just watching that's not something I would want to do.
It wasn't for
and
you.
It's not fair to put all that on someone else, because parenting there should be some equality to a degree. You know,
I think there's a benefit when both parents are around. I would agree on that. I think that's statistically proven.
I think it's wrong. Yeah.
Two parents, and hopefully they're together and married, and that statistically kind of makes a difference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have pretty almost everything, not everything in the whole world, but in terms of the kind of stuff that we're talking about right now with parenting and so forth, we have almost all this down to a science. You know, there's tons of studies about all this stuff. We know what works for children. We know what they need. And obviously, yeah, like divorce is a problem. If one parent has a drug addiction, or they're just lacking, they're not being a proper parental figure, that can be extremely damaging, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So
how do we set the bar to decide and say, I mean, because some people need to have children, because if we don't have children, then we collapse. And we, not just us, China's had a big drop in, you know, giving birth to children, not just their daughter and son kind of laws, but if we don't have children, we can't succeed. So there has to be, Elon Musk's talked about this, so how do you balance that with,
but then
it's not a call for no procreation. I don't think.
Well, that's what I'm doing, but
is it a call
I don't,
for
yeah,
no
because I don't think we
or
should.
Is it a call for responsible procreation?
Why would no? I don't personally believe that there's responsible procreation. Like I think there's a spectrum, of course. Like some's, you know, way less irresponsible than, or way more irresponsible than other. But like I was saying before, I think we should be prioritizing life that's already here and in need. There's always going to be an overabundance of that for humans and non-human animals alike. And if we procreate just to try to increase the population, we're viewing those children as a means to an end, basically. We're not, you know, you're not doing anyone a favor by bringing them into the world. You know, we're going to suffer, be harmed. We have to work. We have to do a lot of things that we don't want to do. We have to go through a lot of bad experiences. Obviously, some people, once again, a spectrum. There's a spectrum of these things.
I know that. Yeah, I know that.
So, Yeah, and yeah, I understand that if a population gets too low or too imbalanced, that can present new issues. But the world's already so full of issues. We just have to make best with all the issues that we incur, and we are going to go extinct at some point anyway. And I don't think
go extinct quicker with not having kids. Yeah, there's
Well, it
sections
depends,
of
yeah.
China that are now starting to have more babies.
Thank you for your time, bud.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing
coming
your
up.
thoughts, and it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, you too. I
Okay?
appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, have a good
All right,
day.
you guys
All good, all good.
Thank you.
Yeah, interesting thoughts.
Thank you very much.
I'm a pro-choice girl.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm I'm not trying to take anyone's choice away.
No.
I
It's just no. I mean, I'm a woman, so this is a big thing.
Yeah. And as you can see, I'm trying to encourage men to get vasectomies so they don't have to cause unintended pregnancies.
Yeah,
and
because
don't.
we're the ones who have to take care of them. We're the ones
Yeah.
whose lives are destroyed unless we want to deal with the horror of putting them.
Even pregnancy can be a horror in itself.
Absolutely. Oh, you got it.
And
Got it, my
childbirth too.
friend. Got it.
Women even die during childbirth sometimes.
Absolutely.
So-
Thank you.
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
I don't know. This seems to be misplaced
What do you mean, sir?
because as it is already in a number of areas like Europe, North America, the birth rate is already falling below the replacement rate.
Yeah, that's okay. Why is that a problem?
Well, it is because for one thing, like you need people to do work, and why?
But does anyone want to come into the world to do work? 'Cause then you're
Everyone wants to
you're
do it.
viewing humans as tools.
But the
Then
thing is, the way society functions, you have to have people to work.
right? But that's
And,
almost slavery in a way.
Not exactly, not when people are getting good wages for it.
Yeah, but a lot of
The
people.
problem is now, even when you're paying people good money, it's hard to find workers.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like the work that they do. You know, it's a burden to their life.
I was a self-employed cleaner. Whether I enjoyed the work, the people, it was a way to survive. It was a way
Right.
to support myself.
Right, but if you don't come into the world, you don't have to worry about that stuff. You don't have to worry about supporting yourself.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, then you don't have the joys of living.
Right, but you're
mean,
not
all right,
missing
the
out.
thing is
You
you
only need the
can't-
joys once you're alive.
But
Once-
the thing is, what it finally amounts to is that people can't have everything. You can't have all joy and no.
well, yeah, there's got to be some
no
deprivation.
nuisance. So that I don't know. I think it's just a very immature. I mean, again, I don't really see the need for this because, as it is in a lot of areas, since women, in a lot of areas, especially since after World War I. After World War I, women have become a lot more liberated, and one reason why there's so much population, so much pressure on population growth is that women have found a lot of women have found more interesting things to do, and there's no slavery or anything that's preventing them from doing it these days. There's no slavery or anything that's preventing the woman in the West from doing it. I know very well that there's always the issue of women, like say in the Mideast, women in the Mideast under Islam. And I think over there is a definite social pressure on women to just stay out of the labor force and have families. I get that. But I don't think these are the kind of people that are going to be reached by anything like this.
Well, no, because obviously I'm not standing where they are right now.
So again,
But
that's what I'm
procreation,
saying. But that's what
I
I'm
believe
saying.
that,
That's what I'm saying about how I just believe the effort is misplaced.
Well, I don't think so, because there's going to be people here who may want to have kids who haven't had kids yet, or they might want to have more kids. You know, people are having kids everywhere. So as long as it's only misplaced if I'm standing in an area where nobody's going to have children or more children. That's the only time this is misplaced.
Well, it depends on whether the area can support them or not.
What do you mean?
What it means is that the resources. Now, like in Arizona, they've had in Arizona, there's something called water. There's something called water that is vital, and in Arizona, they've had to limit development in some areas because there just isn't the water to support additional construction.
Yeah, and water scarcity is just going to get worse and worse. So why do you want to bring people into the world to experience water scarcity and to consume more water?
But again, it all depends. There's no water scarcity here.
Well, not yet. There could be in the future. And either way, people here are consuming things that are leading to water scarcity in other parts of the country and other parts of the world. You know, even like a lot of the food that they serve here is extremely water intensive. They're depleting aquifers, you know? So, I mean,
again,
you know,
that's happening more in other areas of the country, and a lot of it depends on the kind of lifestyle people have too. That's another thing.
Well, either way, no one can consent to coming into the world, and when you have children, you are forcing them into the world.
But again, I think the average person would rather, I mean, again, but if it's such a, then why don't you have mass suicide if it's so
Well, this
terrible?
is about not starting new lives, not ending current lives. That's a totally separate thing.
No, I don't know. It's just,
I would never advocate for random people here to kill themselves. I'm just advocating for people to not force other people into the world.
no, honestly, it just doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry you can't understand
there's
it.
just too much extremist. There's just too much extremist rhetoric going on all over.
Yeah. Have I used any extremist rhetoric?
Oh, well, I would say so, but...
What was an example of some extremist rhetoric that I used?
Well, about people being forced to come into the world.
Well, what's extreme about that? Is that incorrect?
Well, yeah, but the implication is that right away you're putting a prison sentence on someone.
Sorry?
The implication, though, is you're putting a sentence on someone.
Well, yeah, you are sentencing them to death.
That's just not...
You are sentencing them to death because they're gonna die. They can't die unless they're born in the first place, right?
Well, yes, I know. Quite a while ago, like there was this one...
You're on the wrong continent. You need to go to Africa. That's where they're having a population explosion.
Aren't people having children everywhere?
Yeah, but some are having more.
So are you going to fund my trip to Africa?
Some people are responsible and don't have children that they can't afford. Other people have many children that they can't afford. I support my own child.
Okay.
And as far as this is concerned, we need more people in our country, not less. We don't need fewer people being born. We need more.
Well, how about you import some Africans then?
No, fuck them. Let them take care of their own kids. I'm not responsible for other kids in other parts of the world. I have my own people to worry about.
Okay.
I think the problem will solve itself.
So maybe you could go do this in Africa if you're if you don't want them to have more children.
Africa. Instead of doing it here, you do it in Africa.
I want to do it everywhere people are having children.
Go to where they're having the most, where they can't afford it the least.
Well, they're still having a ton here.
Send them. Yeah. Well, over here they should. We don't have enough. We're not at replacement level.
You want to keep swelling up the foster care system?
No. I want people who can't afford to have children to stop. I have the child that I can afford, and I think we need more children in this country because we're not at replacement level.
I don't think we should be forcing anybody into the world.
I'm not forcing anybody into the world.
When you have children, yeah, they did. When you come into the world, you didn't have a choice.
Thank God. I like my life, and he likes his life.
Okay, well, either way, you're still forced into the world.
And it's good. It's a good thing to have more children that you can afford. Tell them in Africa and Asia to stop.
Oh, yeah.
This is anti-kid stickers?
Anti-natalist.
Thank you. Oh, okay.